So I'm now going to do something which is called a shipping bandage of the olden days. Some people might call it a travel bandage. I mean, we've got such good travel boots nowadays. People don't really use these, so I might put a travel bandage on a horse. If it was going to kick and move about, I might kick their travel boots off. The shipping bandage is slightly different because you go lower. You actually go right the way down, so you protect the coronet band and the heels of the horse. Now this sort of predates overreach boots, to be honest, and they don't always work as effectively as putting a bandage on and then overreach boots on over the top. And you'd normally have a knee boot on if you were going to travel to protect the knees so they don't bang and crash. So they go slightly lower and round the bulb of the heel. Now I actually only ever use this bandage if I had a really messy horse that had white socks and I bathed it and I didn't want it to get mucky. And I would put those on until the legs were dry. We're now going to do a tendon wrap. So a tendon wrap would just go for the cannon bone area. So below the knee and above the fetlock. This might be done if you had a horse that was going to be bandaged overnight. You might want to just look after the tendons, you have good circulation. When you bandage, again the same rules apply as doing your normal bandage. You might go slightly lower around the fetlock joint, have the V at the front. I have actually swapped bandages to a fleecy stable bandage that's slightly shorter in length, just because the distance that you're covering is not quite as much. If you have a horse that's going to be wearing bandages a lot, this might be slightly better. If there is any swelling, it might come out through the fetlock joint. Sometimes I might double up my fibre G, so then you don't have any sort of strain or pull around the tendons at all, just so it gives a little bit more support and there's less likely to have a pressure point. Now I'm going to do a knee bandage. So a knee bandage would be used on a horse that's maybe got broken knee, so it's fallen over, it's broken the skin, they haven't actually broken their knee. These can be quite difficult to do, to make sure that you've got enough movement that they can still move their knee, unless you're doing an immobilising one, without too many pressure points. Get up in a figure of 8. Get that down. That's where we're going to end it. And then with tapes like these, I would normally just tape them, make sure they're flat. I try not to have too much of a knot. If you do, you must make sure you do that a little bow on the side. I tend to have it and then tuck them in. You've got to make sure they're flat. And then with a bandage like that, I would then help to secure it by placing a bandage over the top. Help. And then with your knee bandage, you want a gap for the front where the damaged area may be. You have the figure of 8 on the side, and then again you have a ruffled bit at the back so you don't affect that sort of large bone, the pisiform bone at the back where the tendons would run down, and then secure it by your tendon wrap really. And that would be your figure of 8 bandage or your knee bandage. Now also for your knee bandage you may choose to use something called vet wrap. So a nice vet sort of sticky bandage that sticks to itself. Because if you're bandaging a particular place which is quite hard to reach, you may end up finding that this sort of bandage is quite good, because if the horse messes about, and let's face it, this horse hasn't got an injury, so she's quite happy to be bandaged and fiddled about with. But if your horse has hurt itself, it's very unlikely it's going to just stand beautifully still for you to allow you to do something to it when it's already hurt itself. So you'll find that if it messes about, you can drop it and it doesn't move, whereas a normal material bandage, you're sitting there thinking, oh great, you start all over again, it's the best. You can also then bandage it around to wherever you need to be and then cut it, or just, this stuff's brilliant, it just tears off and then you don't have to worry about the tape because it keeps it in place again. Good girl. So to do a Hock bandage, you have to make sure that you've got enough material to wrap around, because Hocks are really weird shapes. So the same rules apply as the knee bandage. Obviously you're dealing with a really weird shape. Now I'm using just a normal bandage here, but I would most certainly be thinking about anchoring it with vet wrap afterwards. I have to really concentrate with this. So it's much, much longer. I'll put that down now. Quite often the bandage is not going to be secure enough. They'll slip. It'll be an absolute nightmare. Do your best, don't you? So again, you have your bit at the front, so you have a bit of mobility. These are great, so they just fold on themselves. And then you have the bit at the back, so again you have a bit of mobility on your Hock bandage.